Welcome into Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy, and this podcast, in all of its various incarnations across social media and various broadcasting internet networks, is my journey of trying to lose weight and become a healthy person. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional in the medical industry. These are simply my opinions and my experiences. While I do believe in what I say, I'm not qualified to dispense medical advice. You should consult with your medical practitioner for that. 92, a little more than 92 pounds. I'm going to call it 92 and be on the conservative side that I've lost so far. I'm nearing that 100-pound mark, which is just going to be a fantastic day. I haven't been good at doing the show lately, but I promise you when I hit 100, there will be a 100-pound show. And not long after I hit 100, with just a few pounds in there, I'll hit the twos. I'll be 200 and something for the first time since, I don't know how far that goes back. I'm pretty sure mid-90s, early 90s. I don't know, it's been a long time. Yes, I'm an old guy, whatever. So today I'm going to talk about how I decided to stop trying to lose weight. This happened back a couple of years ago. I just did a lot of research. I did a lot of study about health and the way the body works inside and out, what causes weight gain, what causes weight loss, why some people can seemingly eat anything they want. I didn't want the same old advice about you just, eat less and move more and you'll be fine. Because if that were true, everybody would be, not everybody, but most people that want to be slim would be. And you can lose some weight with that in the intermediate term, but it just never lasts long term. And the main reason is because hunger. Accomplishing those goals by starving yourself will always lead to a relapse. And here's why. When you're starving yourself, that is an indicator to your body that you're dying. Your body is telling you that you're dying. And it will fight your willpower, it'll fight your mind, it'll fight your brain, it will do everything it can to keep you alive when it senses that you're in immediate peril. So obviously starving yourself is not going to work. You can withstand your body's will to live and sustain itself in the short term. You cannot do that in the long term. So obviously my first, if you followed me all the way back, my first diet was a plant-based diet. I ate plant-based. I ate a lot of staples like potatoes were one of my staples. Rice was one of my staples. Those are some of the more calorie-dense plant-based foods. And it worked pretty well. I lost a pretty good amount of weight. I think I lost like 60 pounds or something, maybe a little more. Then I had a setback and I lost it back. And I arrived at a time, and I'm not going to go into the whole story, but you can go back and hear about how my mom is battling an illness, and we determined that ketogenic diet was the only way to get nutrients in her at that time. I adopted it out of simplicity's sake, but not before I did a lot of research on it because that's my mom. So obviously I did a lot of research on it. I did not want to feed my mom something that I thought was going to exacerbate her issues. So we switched over to a ketogenic diet, and I'm just going to tell you, I'll go through some of the changes before this is over, but I just want you to know that the differences in how you feel from a dieter's standpoint are remarkable. I don't even know if I can describe it. Now, it doesn't happen week 1 or week 2, and for me, it didn't happen until week 17. This has been a couple of weeks ago. But once you hit that fat-adapted state where your body, when it needs energy, is just automatically programmed to consume fat, it will immediately go to the fat on your body. So you may have some temporary moments of hunger. You won't ever be ravenous. You may have temporary moments of hunger. They won't last long. You'll be surprised how often you're just not hungry. It's remarkable to me because 10 or 12 years ago, I went to a fat doctor and they put me on phentermine and Bontril and all these crazy things. And I remember the first couple of days I took phentermine, and I was like, man, this must be what it's like for a normal, not overweight person. Like I'd go through the whole day and not think about food. And that had never happened to me in my life. That was the first time I experienced that. The second time I experienced that is now on the ketogenic diet. Now that don't mean I don't think about food on purpose, because I do. I'm thinking about recipes, I'm thinking about things that might taste good, things I might want to try. But I could very easily not eat most of the day. A good example of that is I just not long ago ate dinner or supper, depending on where you're from. And I wasn't really hungry, and I probably could have passed the meal, but my eating window, and I do intermittent fasting, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, But my eating window was closing, and I knew if I was going to eat, I needed to eat. So I just ate a little something, but I didn't eat much. I ate about 3.5 ounces of protein, and I think it was 135 grams of some greens. And, you know, it just wasn't much. And I'm so stuffed. I'm so unbelievably stuffed. I'm full right now. And I think I still have 500 or 600 calories that I could eat today and be well under any reasonable calorie goal. So it's just been remarkable. So to address the topic or the headline of the video, because this isn't clickbait, I really did stop trying to lose weight, and I started focusing on healing what is broken inside me. I would say from all my research and study, you know, well over 95% of people who are overweight are broken. You have a disease. It's called Metabolic Syndrome. Now that doesn't mean that you didn't cause it, but for most of us, it was caused out of ignorance. All the foods on the store shelves, all the things our mom was taught, all the things we were taught, all the things our mom taught us, everything that the government tells you with the food pyramid, all of these things tell you what's healthy to eat, and those things that they told us to eat our whole lives were the very things that caused us to have metabolic syndrome. So while it is a self-inflicted disease, it's self-inflicted from ignorance, and most of us are not to blame. I learned all of this when I stopped searching for diets. I stopped searching the internet for how to lose weight, for how to, you know. I started searching for people who are experts in their field, like Dr. Robert Lustig, who is just phenomenal. He has a great presentation on YouTube about how sugar is poison and how the internal mechanics work. And there's several other doctors on YouTube who are brave enough to come out and explain how metabolic syndrome begins. But what happens is, after years of eating this diet that they told us to eat, you're constantly flooding your body with sugar, and carbohydrates are sugar. It's a fancy name for sugar, but carbs are sugar. After you flood your body with that so much, your body becomes resistant to it. Your cells become resistant to the glucose being transported into them to give you energy, because they're just constantly being bombarded with it. Insulin is the vehicle that escorts them. After a while, your cells and muscles and all this go, you know what, I'm just sick of this. No. And insulin, pancreas cranks out more insulin to try to get that glucose in it, because that's its job. It has two jobs. The first one is to try to escort that glucose into your cells. And of course, this exacerbates the problem, because your muscles really go, no, I said no, I don't, you're just bombarding me with this. Stop. We can't deal with all of this. We can't possibly store this much glucose. And so your body and pancreas responds by cranking out more insulin. And this spirals until one day you hit a tipping point and you have type 2 diabetes. Now, the only other thing I'll tell you about insulin, and we'll address this more in other shows, is that when insulin is high, your body stores fat. It doesn't burn it. That is a signal. That is your body's signal to store fat. So you have two things happening with insulin resistance as a result of metabolic disease, or vice versa. Chicken or egg, I don't know. You have two things that happen. You have this continued resistance to glucose, and so your body cranks out more insulin, but you're actually getting less of the energy you're eating, because insulin is robbing it from you, because the muscles won't accept it. The cells in your body won't accept it. They've become insulin resistant. They're turning it away. So your body goes, oh crap, what do I do with this? And it uses something called lipogenesis to convert this into fat, and it stores it. And your body just stores this fat, and it's a never-ending cycle. It's a disease. It's funny because even as a fat person, I used to laugh at people that said being overweight was a disease, and I was a fat person. And I'd be like, it's not a disease, you just eat too much. Well, we did eat too much. We ate too much of the wrong things, but it wasn't our fault. We were lied to by the government, by the FDA. We were lied to it by the medical industry. We were lied to by the fitness and health industry. We were lied to by the Cancer Association. I don't know all the names. If there's a government agency, they lied to us. If you don't believe me, go look at the food pyramid and see what's on bottom. See what they tell you to eat most of. It's sugar. So, what's the healthiest diet for a person who isn't overweight? See, I think that's something worth debating. I think if I weren't overweight and I didn't have metabolic syndrome, I would probably go back to a vegan diet right now. And once I achieve my goal weight, and I've been there for a little while, and I move from my fat burning phase to my toning up, muscling up phase, and I get through some of that, I may try going back to more of a plant-based diet. But I can tell you, I've done both. I did plant-based diet for over a year. I've done this now for 4.5 months. And this is far, far, far better. So my word of advice to you today would be to, number one, stop trying to lose weight. Start trying to fix the problem. Start addressing metabolic syndrome. When you get through watching this, go watch Dr. Robert Lustig, Sugar, the Poison. It will be eye-opening, and you'll see a lot of related videos that will also help you along the way. Look, we do an audio podcast version of this. If you're a person that likes to listen to podcasts while you're riding into work on your phone, it's just search for Fat Guy Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, or Stitcher. You can subscribe right here. Please click the bell. That way when there's a new video, it'll let you know and you won't miss it. Because we're going to be hitting that 100-pound law soon, and I'm also going to be hitting the twos soon. Tutorland. Is that what it's called? Tutorland? Across all forms of social media, it's simply at Fat Guy Podcast. That applies to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And of course, on Facebook, it's Fat Guy Podcast as well. The website has "the" in front of it because some jerk stole Fat Guy Podcast. They didn't steal it. They just bought it before I did. So if you go look us up online, look for thefatguypodcast.com. Thanks so much for watching. Share, hit the bell so you get it. Subscribe so you never miss one. And if you know somebody that could benefit from this, share it as well, because there's so many people that want to lose weight and get healthy and they don't know why. They don't know how. They don't understand. You could be the person that helps them. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. And if you click that bell, you'll make sure you never miss an update. Visit us online at thefatguypodcast.com and on Facebook, Fat Guy Podcast.